like the water, but you already know what it is. Yeah, PCs, we're back. You see me right there, back. You see Santino right there, back. You see your boy, back. Unfortunately, Greg's not back. Maybe he'll be back later, but he's a busy man. You know what I'm saying? Today we're here to talk to you about video games.
Video games are in full effect right now, ladies and gentlemen.
And the price of them specifically. You got to understand right now. You know what I'm saying? For what? 16 years.
Yes.
For 16 years, games have been hard stuck at a cool $60 with the Xbox 360 in the year 2005. With the start of this latest generation, we've seen a $10 jump, right? And more than ever in the last year since these consoles have been out, I have been seeing this conversation about what makes a game $70, what makes a game worth this and worth that. I've seen people compare the same price games and be like, oh, this is this and this is that. I've seen people say, how are you complaining about this game being 70 but not this game? What makes a game worth the money? And we are here to discuss it on a personal level and on like a holistic level. You know what I'm saying? So who wants to go first? You know what I'm saying? Who wants to do the thing?
I mean, if you want to go first.
I think we got to remember.
Oh,
we got to
wind
it back.
The Halo shirt? That shit's fire, dog.
That's what I just said before you hopped in.
Bro, they should have sold those controllers. They would have made a killing, though.
I know. I'm still so mad about that.
As you can see, we still get off track very easily.
No, so we have to we gotta wind it back, right? So the PlayStation 2 and
I was thinking the same thing as Rob was starting.
Yep. The $60 price point started at that time, right? So it's been a long time. And then it started with PS3, Xbox 360.
It was 50 for the PS2.
50 for the
yes. The change was in between those two gens.
Right. So PS360, that era,
was
everything went to $60.
Yes.
So we actually, as gamers, got it good for a whole generation.
Yes.
Whereas it probably should have been
2 generations.
7. Right. It stayed stagnant for like 14 years or whatever. So it should have jumped. It's now course correcting now but the thing is, it's only really course correcting by Sony, their first party titles, and then I think EA, right? What they're charging with possible like the upgrade charges for having a next gen console plus like the special edition consoles. Well, I think Xbox is staying at 60. I mean, you can even find Halo Infinite for $50 for the campaign coming out, right? That's at $50 right now for a lot of places. Nintendo, I don't know if the Wii U was ever $60. I think those stayed at 50, but they just jumped up to 60 now for their first party games, even though they're recycling their Wii U games into the Switch.
I think
era.
I know with how many Wii U's I bought.
But I think they moved up to 60. So I think they went up this generation as well, but they caught up to what everyone else was doing. So that's kind of the brief history. I don't know how you feel about that, but for me personally, it stinks that you're paying extra $10 because not only are we paying $70 more, the developers who and the makers of these games aren't seeing those profits, right? It all goes down to the bottom line of what a company and the shareholders and the CEOs making. What did the guy from Activision make? Like hundreds of millions,
like 300 million or some shit. Yeah.
The people that are talking about how shitty their job is and like the bad working conditions and for like people in cyberpunk or whatever having to work long hours when they said they wouldn't have to. Those are the people that should be getting
reap the benefits when they don't
down, but it's not. And so that's why it stinks. And not just that though, but the indie devs, which they used to charge $30 for like the indie games. I'm glad they're charging $40 because they will see it more. But
they deserve it more.
These big AAA titles, they're not seeing the extra $10. It sucks.
No. Correct me if I'm wrong. I remember, and this could have been either early 10s or right before. I remember the rumor of, and this was when Twitter was getting popular and all that with our generation, mine and Rob's. There was like an article back when I used to have the IGN app on my Samsung tablet that was like it's time for the games to go up $5 or $10 in price. And I think there was a huge thing about it, and it was in regards to inflation and so and such, and how we've dodged a generation of the $10 increase for games, because it was in between that PS3 to PS4, Xbox 360 to Xbox One. There was like that little speculation that they were going to increase the price of games at that point. And it almost happened, and then they were like, no, we're not going to do it this gen. And then it just stopped and went silent. And then when when the PS5 released, and then 2K announced that their version was 70, then everybody started like getting all up in arms about this price increase. So we go back to what Rob was saying, what you said, like we had it good for like 20 years essentially of no price increase. Like it's tough from both sides. It's tough to pay $70 for a game if it's a bad game. If it's a good game, okay, I'm never going to think about the $70 I spent.
Right.
And I don't think many gamers will think about how much they spent in regards to the game unless it's a bad game. But I think the internet, YouTube and Twitch have made it easier for people to be like, I'm not wasting my hard-earned $60 to $70 when I can watch somebody play it. I think a lot of people are starting to lean towards that. I can watch a walkthrough. And that personally, that would never be me. I would never do that. I want to play the game. But I think I personally think it was time for the games. Like I wasn't shocked. I can't say I was shocked when Sony on PS5 was like 2K is $70. And you guys know I rip on 2K, but it's like, it was like the perfect storm. 2K was the company who's notorious for microtransactions, who gets me good every year, but also is the one that's like the poster child for the increase on their game price. And then like everybody was like, wait a minute, is it just 2K or is it other PlayStation games? Is Xbox doing this as well? And then I just go back to, I'm like, okay, if you like the game, if you really want to play the game, you're not going to hee and haw over a $70 game or over a $5 to $10 increase after tax. If the game's shit, if you've bought 5 games for $70 and you hated every game, we've got a different problem there. And I think a lot of people have brought this up lately. We're like, now it's like, back then we had games that were done. You put the disc in your PS2, it was the full game. There weren't day one updates. There weren't like DLC content until COD. Like COD started like the DLC content for like maps and so on. Like story games didn't have DLC content. Games were done. And now it's like go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
Grand Theft Auto 4 had story DLC.
Yes.
Sorry.
And that was worth it. But Rockstar's like,
I'm fucking with you.
Rockstar's the outlier. Rockstar can do no wrong all the time. I'm just saying, like, is your $10? What is your $10 more? And I'm playing devil's advocate. What is the $10 more increase benefiting for the consumer? What am I getting for $10 more? What am I getting different? And if you're going to tell me 2K is $10 more, well, what the hell more am I getting from a sports game that's $10 more compared to the last 12 2Ks?
Well, so like to bring it to that point, that's kind of like I said it in my unboxing. Like that's kind of the reason why I'm like, oh, I don't really need a next gen console yet,
right?
Because to me, this gen is like the gen of like diminishing returns. Like, sure, we'll get like better frame rates and stuff, but like I'm not like super impressed by things looking pretty anymore. No. Because last gen was the gen where it was like, whoa, this is dead.
They were selling you on pretty.
Especially the end of the PS4 era.
PS4 Pros, Xbox Series, or not like Series, games, 1X.
Like even some of the starting games like
Rise of Rome or whatever.
Like Rise.
That looked really good.
Looking. I mean,
the Order 1887 or whatever looked really good.
And it was a 6-hour game. It was a 6-hour, you know what I mean? Like
25 FPS.
Pretty games, but the games were like garbage.
No, but like it made sense that if they jumped that, it'd be like, okay, cool, because you're getting like things that look so damn good. Now everything looks good. Like I expect things to look good. You know,
the looks, like, we caught up to the looks already. We're not impressed by it anymore.
Like me personally, no, like I'm very into stylistic choices now, especially like because of like Game Pass opening my eyes to other things. I'm like, oh yeah, like you can just pick like an art style and commit to it, and this shit will be timeless. There's shit that looks pretty, that looked pretty a couple years ago that looks like bad because things got better. You know,
it didn't age well, right?
And so that's kind of where I was at with like even upgrading the console. Like if that wasn't a special edition, I would have got it because it's just like they're still dropping on both platforms. Like all I'm getting is maybe a smoother experience. But
I can live without it for now.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
what are you paying for? Like, so you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's interesting because from everything that I've heard as well, like even the jump to 60, like because of inflation and because of how much the budget is for these games, even probably during that era, that generation should have been more than $60.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
I mean?
And that's what I was. That's what
I think that era had more games that were worth more than $60 compared to now.
Look how much Shaq Fu cost.
He's bringing up the old, but for real though, like
SNES games were
SNES was expensive when, yeah, correct. I just, again, I play both sides. Like, I don't know if it's because of the position I'm in or us three are in. Like, is $10 hurting our bank account for a game we want? Probably not. For most, it's not. But like for the kid that gets a game once a year, like Rob did for Christmas,
yeah, if I was
that's a lot. That's a big jump.
By the $10,
right?
Like, damn, I'm definitely only getting one.
I'm definitely only getting one game this year, right? And it's. I don't know. I don't think it's a huge deal, but at the same time, what is? I get inflation. I get how the economy works. But it's like, what is this $10 more? Where is it going? What effort is it going into the game? What more am I getting out of that game for $10 more? And I go back to the 2K thing. It's like, it's a sports game. Sports games at this point should just be updated rosters every year for $30. Like, if you told me I had to pay $20 to $30 every year to play a sports game to update my roster, I'm in. But I'm paying 60, in my case, 100 because of the special edition. And then it goes on sale for 45 2 months later. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the sports games are the worst example of a $70 game. I understand a story game. I understand an in-depth RPG. You know, I don't even think a racing game should be $70. It's just, there's a lot of these games that there's got to be like a middle. I get these people have people to pay. They have shareholders. They have, you know, the employees that need to make their profit. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like a lot of these games now, especially now, maybe like within the last like 4 to 5 years, are worth no more than $40 in my opinion. I mean, content wise,
I'm low. Yeah, sure.
I'm going from a content, and I'm bypassing how hard these people work. Obviously,
but see,
I'm not discrediting that.
To my main point. That goes back to my main point: is the people that need to see the profits are not seeing. Right. That's the problem. That's where it all goes wrong. Like, I'm fine with paying. Right. Like,
as am I. Yes.
Right. Like when I go to a restaurant, when I used to go to a restaurant, right, it was like, hey, these guys get paid shit. I want to make sure that, like, if they do just an average job, they're getting 20%.
I'm still going to tip you, right?
They're getting 20%. But like with these games, but if the restaurant starts charging more, I'm like, well, you're paying your staff more, and that's the reason why the price is going up, right? Not just it's like, I hope you're paying your staff, but in this case, a lot of times it's not happening, especially with video games, right? So that it just goes back to that. That's my biggest point: is the people that need to see the money aren't seeing the money, and the people that want to play the games, then, like we were talking about, getting 1 game or 2 games or 3 games in the holidays, there's going to be less buyers in that community at the end of the day. So it just hurts more people than it helps.
I think in our lifetime, 70 might be the highest you see for a video game, like a standard edition. If video games start getting out of control and it's like every 10 years they're going up $5 to $10 from here on out, video games are in trouble. Like, can you imagine spending like $100 on one video game that's not like a collector's edition? That's just the game. And then a lot of these games now, like the big thing now are like add-ons, like skins for games, and that's where it's like, is this game worth 60? And then I have to pay. You don't have to. Have to is the wrong term. I can potentially pay $10 here and there, $10 here and there, and it's like, it adds up fast, man. Like, it's, you pay for the $60 game, and then you're paying $10 every week. You know, that's for skins, for gun blueprints, like COD and all that. It's like, where does it end? Where's the, like, I don't know. Some of these companies are $1 billion companies. Like, COD is $1 billion company. and you're charging $70 for your game, and then you're charging $20 for a gun blueprint, and then you're charging $10 for a skin, and then you're charging between $20 and $200 for a battle pass. It's like, okay, what? Like, I could have bought 30 games at that point. And again, that goes down to like you don't have to buy those things, but at the same time, it's like, you know, for COD, it's pay to win. If you want to have the blueprint to have the gun that everybody's using to win the gunfights, you have to buy it, or else you're just gonna be dying off the parachute, and that's it. So I don't know what, like, I don't know, like $70 to me is like, again, to me it's not a big deal. So to a lot of other consumers, I think it might be with like from seeing a $10 jump for people that aren't well off enough to buy multiple games in a year. If you're a person that can only get 1 or 2 games a year, $10 is huge, because then it's like, okay, I have to pick between one of these 2 games.
Yep.
And then I'm just going to have to hope somebody gets me the other one. Or, I mean, like, are there still places to rent games?
GameFly is still gone.
GameFly is still a thing. Okay, so then you still
there's
have
one. There's 1 or 2 Blockbusters, right? There's one Blockbuster.
Is there the red boxes or
go
whatever?
That's the one, yeah.
Portland or whatever.
I mean, Rob, what else do you think? Like, was it a shock to you when you saw the increase when Sony announced it, when like 2K and the other games announced it?
So the reason why I thought it was, for me, I'm not really tripping about it too much, but I think the way it happened was what made it so weird, because at the time Microsoft was doing the smart delivery thing, and everyone's like, what does that even mean? That's stupid. And then it was like, yeah, you can upgrade for free as long as like the company says it's fine. All our games are gonna do it. And then 2K is like, yeah, no, we're doing 2 versions. You gotta pay. And everyone's like, what the fuck? What about this over here? And then Sony's like, we're kind of doing the same thing. and then everyone's like, but they say their upgrades are free. And it's like, well, they don't have games. And it begins the whole thing. And it's like, I think, especially because this generation, the visuals are so similar. Right. Like, to me, even though they were the same price, if it was like Xbox 360, Xbox One, or PS3, PS4, and they had 2 different versions and shit, a price difference on those makes sense to me. Because I feel like the jump between those 2 was like actually like eye-opening, while the jump between shit now is there, but it's very much like performance than it is like visual and shit, which obviously there's some technological limits to that as well that like is costly and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But in my opinion, I felt like Sony had more room to do it. I still didn't like think if it came out on both, it should do it, but because they have the haptics and shit, it's like, okay, that's a different level of development and shit and technology that you have to implement into your
design, a different experience,
development. So like, I get that probably takes more resources than just a game.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think one of the things that in general with this whole conversation that's been interesting about this generation, and I think it kind of started at the tail end of the last one, but it's just been like the way games are priced, period, across the board. Like, I feel like there was a point in time, well, like, I don't feel like, I know, like, where games were always this price. Like, this is what it's launching at. Well, I feel like
$59.99 and after tax is $65.
Exactly. And we started this gen with Miles Morales coming out at like 50 or some shit. You know what I'm saying? And then I think Kana is also 40. 50 or 40. Yeah, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, if you buy physical, it's 50 because you have to buy the deluxe, deluxe
edition, so games like that are 40. You know what I'm saying? Like, some indie games are $10, some indie games are $30. You know what I'm saying? Like 60, 70. Like, I think games, and then again, you have Halo multiplayer, free to play. You know what I'm saying? Warzone's free to play, but the full game is 60, 70, whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot more disparity across the board than it was, because like, I'm thinking at the start of the Xbox One generation, right? I'm gonna find a way to always sneak in, you know what I mean? But it's March 2014. You know what I'm saying? What should have been the shooter of the generation, Titanfall, drops at a full $60, and it's just a multiplayer game. Imagine Titanfall drops in the year 2021 in that state at $20, $30, or free to play, and it'd probably be the biggest fucking shit out, because it's like, oh, this is crazy and it's free or whatever. $60 for the original Titanfall, it's content light. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I paid for it because like I was I had
It was
Xbox
good.
One. That was the first.
Yeah.
It was one of the first things, right?
So,
It's
and
good.
so much hype. And so
Right.
much hype. Yeah.
There was a lot of hype. It was one of the first exclusives.
Dude,
but, like,
every
you know,
commercial, the only video game commercial at the time was Titanfall.
bro, that first like fucking trailer. Yeah. Anyways, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Titanfall. But so like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Save Titanfall.
save Titanfall, bro. So like Titanfall, I think could have existed better in like today's day. You know what I'm saying? The original one, at least, you know. And I think that's the interesting part about everything nowadays, where it's like certain games are priced differently, and I think that kind of shows like that there is some conscious effort into like what people are thinking about when they like put these things out. But I guess like to bring the whole thing together, I was just trying to like I guess ask everybody personally what they think like on a personal level, like just you, what makes a game worth the full price, I guess, is the question I have for you guys.
I mean, you can go first.
Yeah, I think if it's gonna be $70 moving forward, I think it's in my opinion, it's gotta be a first party. It's gotta be like AAA budget. So I'm talking about God of War. You know, I'm talking about
Last of Us.
I'm talking about Horizon. I'm talking about I can't really say anything about the Microsoft games because they're staying at 60. So really I'm talking about the PlayStation huge cinematic games that are going to be like, we're going to release one game for the generation for a certain franchise, right? I don't know if, you know, we had God of War in 2018. Yeah, they're getting it out in 2022. It's a 4-year gap. I don't know if they're going to have another God of War in the next 7 years.
PS5
I don't
lineup,
know.
right?
You know, they may, but
Might
still,
close out this
2
gen.
games. Yeah, it might close it out, right? 2 games in a generation, which generation like 7 years. That's
rare now.
The kind of game, right? If it's a Call of Duty, which is here's me recycling a new game within studios every year, that's not a $70 game to me. That's a $40 or $50 game.
That's where I'm at with
they
that.
have Warzone. You have the free to play options. You know, we don't need this.
Let's be honest here. They make all their money off Warzone. They don't make a lot of money off multiplayer anymore. All the money because all the microtransactions fall into the free to play version of their game. That's where the money's there, where to be made.
Right. And in terms of shooters, maybe this is why Battlefield is going to this like.
So I have something on Battlefield
that
I want to talk about.
Battlefield's full price.
I don't know if you're done. I'm going to cut you off real quick.
No. But that's what I think a $70 game is. It's like those huge once or twice a generation game per franchise, let's say.
So the one thing that I've noticed, I think they started this mid to late last gen. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it's very big on this gen, especially for the shooters. Is every game has like 3 editions. There's the standard, there's an 80, and then there's like 100+ edition. And since I play on PC, I don't see those $70 game prices for like the shooters. I just see the 60, the 80, and the 100, whatever. The thing I don't like about a lot of these like shooters nowadays, not even game wise, I'm not even going to get into gameplay or whatever with any of these games, that pay for the second most expensive edition and play 10 days early. I think that's like the scummiest money grab on a lot of these games. Is like, if you pay more, you can play early, but if you don't want to pay more, you got to wait 10 more days and be behind everybody else and this and that. That was like, if you didn't have the new Call of Duty before Christmas, you were getting shit on for 2 months straight. And that's like what it is now for me, like in regards to like these pay $80. And I'm guilty of it. I did it because I was excited for Battlefield. I paid the $80 and you know, I get it 10 days early. And then you're like, if you guys know the story of what's going on with Battlefield right now, it's like, okay, I definitely could have waited 10 more days because one, I just got a bunch of skins and access to the game 10 days early. There was nothing else. And I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that type of thing. If you're going to raise a price and everybody gets to play at the same time, that I could care less about, to be honest.
I am actually in like exact disagreement with you because mainly, I guess, like I've been trying to think about, I've been thinking about Forza, right? And I like a lot of people for like ever have been like, oh, how's Game Pass gonna be sustainable? Rah, rah, rah. You know what I'm saying? And like to me, that makes like perfect sense. Hey, buy this thing. Like if you want to pay for the game, you can, and you can play early if you want. And but we have a service and you can wait. Like all that shit to me comes off as like optional. Like, hey, this is a choice.
Yeah.
You can choose to spend money, and if you do, you get early access. And like my thing is, and you were talking about it with Warzone too. Maybe it's just because I'm not a sweat, but like I'm not of the belief that like if I to succeed in Warzone, I have to buy all of the fucking things. Because I'm playing this shit for a year and a half. I don't win every game, but I have decent showings. I've never spent a single dollar on a battle pass. Like
no, it's not the battle pass you need to spend. It's the blueprints.
The blueprints and shit too. I've not spent more than the $60 for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and that was gifted anyways. But like I've not spent anything more than that. Like on Warzone, like when it came out, I just played the game and I just played it. I grinded out the weapons in fucking multiplayer if I wanted the skins and shit. But like, like for me, it's like, and again, I'm a casual person or whatever, I'm just having a good time. But like, I'm not of the thinking that like, if I don't pay or funnel money into this, then I'm not gonna like have a good time or I'm gonna get shit on the whole time. And so like for me, it's like when I don't think a head start gives like people like from like it gives people an advantage, but I don't think it's like enough for me to be like, oh, this is predatory. You know what I mean?
Well, I think for like Forza, it's not predatory because it's like you either pay 10 or you pay 60.
Yeah.
But for Battlefield, it's you either pay 50 or you pay 80. I can wait for
to be full price no matter what, right?
I mean, I can in the Game Pass regards. It's like I'd rather wait for the $10 version. Like, but if you're gonna make me pay 80 to play early, like that's a huge difference compared to the paying 10 in regards to 60 than 80 in regards to 50.
I mean,
I feel like you get your money's worth if you wait the 10 days if you're only paying $10 a month for Forza, right?
Oh no, I would, bro. But like, here's the thing: I'm like Mr. Patient. I'm cool with that shit.
No, I'm cool with it if it's that way. But it's like,
yeah,
if you're telling me I get to play 10 days early and the only fucking thing that comes out of the $80 thing is skins, like, come on, dude.
People like skins, bro.
But it's like, but it's you don't like even with like pre-orders and DLC. You never use the pre-order DLC after the first 5 minutes.
I was gonna say,
or you forget that you put it on
exactly
like 40 and like 100 or something, but you got like future DLCs and shit as well.
Yeah.
That one, like the future DLCs, you could get me with
all the
bonus
stuff.
That's what I'm like looking at. Like I don't know.
No, I'm saying if I pay $80 and the only thing I get out of that is 3 skins for a character and a gun skin and 10 days, like why would you pay $80 for that? Like you don't
get any like extra points or anything.
You don't get nothing. I'm strictly basing this off what Battlefield did. It was 2 character skins and 3 gun skins and 10 days early of gameplay.
Yeah, I assumed you got more than that.
No, you don't get you got nothing for that. Like with Forza, it was just you either get to play or you don't. You don't get any added content because if you bought the game, unless you bought the car passes, which is another $25.99. That's their DLC. So it's just like I don't get like how these companies can just be like, yeah, you get a skin if you pay $30 more and you get to play a little early. Like for what? Why is that your marketing? Because you get to play early?
The thirsties, bro.
Like I wouldn't have done that unless it like for any other game, but like for Battlefield, like because I love the franchise. I was like, okay, I'll bite this time. And like you obviously can see what they're providing. And I'm just like, once you play it, you're just like, this feels like anything I've ever pre-ordered where it's like I got the pre-order bonuses. I'm never gonna look at it again.
That shit used to cost what $5, dude, and then charging 80.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's
dude, I will say though, I have been guilty of pre-ordering a game just to play a beta, and then I'm like, all right, I'm done, and then I cancel my pre-order after
I've done that. I've done that just to get the beta code. Yeah, absolutely.
Duties, bro, like with the World War, I remember. Yeah,
I would pre-order shit all the time and cancel it. Oh yeah, but you could go on the internet and get a beta code, though. You know what I mean? Nowadays, but I think the topic of the $10 increase, it's a double-edged sword for like the market and for consumers, because again, you have to think of like, what position are you in? what position is that gamer in. I go back to like your example, Rob, when we were growing up, like you got 1-2 games max a year.
Mm-hmm.
If these games were $70 when we were kids, your mom's not buying you more than one game a year. I feel like
probably, yeah. That's a lot.
And it's like my mom wouldn't buy me like once I bought games. I was at GameStop trading in games, and she's like, "That's how you're going to buy your new game, you off your trade-ins." And I was just like, "Okay." So
I was the spoiled one.
No, I mean I was spoiled too, but like I don't know if I was as spoiled as you and me.
It was all about Family Video, man. Go to Family Video, get those. Dude, bring your report card in, get free rental.
I'm gonna tell on myself right now. I think I've told this story on the podcast before. I was playing Madden on my buddy's 360, and the 360 was vertical and it fell, and the disc scratched. And I went to Family Home Video, got Madden, swapped it out, put it back in, and I was done with it. And his Madden worked. I didn't even do a sticker, nothing. They never called, they never checked. I just did it.
I definitely did that with my Tomb Raider 2013 game.
I remember that.
Put it back on. So I guess like to take it away from like the different microtransaction things, the two instances this year that I saw it come up the most was in May and recently in like October. And the first one was Returnal versus Resident Evil. And the other one was fucking God of War 2018 versus Metroid Dread. Sony's $60 and Nintendo's $60. So
I didn't understand why they were all like, I didn't understand why people were complaining about that.
So like that's what I'm saying. Like again, I guess like asking it a different way. Like
this game's worth 60, but this one isn't worth 60.
Makes the game worth, it's full money because for me,
that's like the worst part of being like these fanboy gamers, man. It's like the hardcores, it's like weird, it's just they're hating shit just to hate shit. Like there's no way a Nintendo game should be worth $60. Like, what?
Well, it's like this weird thing where
it is. It's the internet
trying to like find things to fight about, but I just feel like with this thing, I've never seen it happen with regard to like that was the price of games.
I forgot about that until you said that. Yeah.
And so like I remember with I know for me, if I was to get into my own stuff real quick, like I remember I got Miles Morales for PS4 when it first came out, right?
Right.
And
that game is so beautiful on PS5.
It's great. I don't know PS5, but it's fun. But it's fun. It is fun. But like, so God of War not God of War, Spider-Man 2018. $60, right?
Right.
And so everyone said, oh, this game is going to be smaller, woo. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I got it, and it was $50 on a PS4. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this might actually be like more than I expected, whatever. But that game's like short as shit.
It was.
So I was like, this is on like last gen, and it's only $10 cheaper than Spider-Man like 2018. I felt like to have my own moment. I was like, if you're gonna, I was like, this should have been like 30 or 40. Like for me first, like sitting there because like I felt like with 2018, it was like so much more. Like so, like for it to be only a $10 difference. Like, that's like weird. You know what I mean?
And that's the only time where I'm like, a game is worth less than 60 or now 70. It's not because it's a Nintendo game. It's not because it's a Sony game or Xbox game. It's because like it's a 4-hour game. It's a 6-hour game. Like you could straight line Spider-Man Miles Morales in 5 hours, probably 6 hours. There are stuff you can still do in it. You can still web sling around the city. There's never ending side missions, but again, that'll be like boring.
Mixed tapes or whatever. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, to me, the content is what should produce the price. If it's a 10-hour plus game, fuck it, $60. If it's a 5-hour game, dude, I'm disappointed that I paid like 60. That's like a Family Home Video. I'd rather rent this game.
Well, that's where I'm at with it. Where I'm like, because
nobody knows what Family Home Video is anymore. This is so sad too.
Right. But like games, like in the past, have been like a good like 8 to 12 hours, and we've been like fine with it.
That's like the sweet spot.
But I feel like a lot of people nowadays are like 8 to 12 hours. Like, you know what I mean?
It's
like,
too long.
No, they say that's short.
That's short for people now?
Because every Ubisoft game is like 80 hours long.
Because there's so many
and it's the same fucking game every year.
Everything's open world.
Everything's open world. But I remember that was the argument with Returnal and Resident Evil. People were like, "Oh, Returnal 70." You guys aren't mad that Resident Evil 70. It's only 8 hours, but it's like Resident Evil is like fucking really good looking and
and it's like you know crazy. What you're getting from a Resident Evil game. Like you know you're not getting a 50-hour game.
Yeah, but like people are like, "Oh, why are you complaining about this and not that?" And it's like, why are we complaining about?
Why are we complaining about any of it?
like you know, and that's what I'm trying to figure out.
The confusing part. Here's the confusing part. Okay, and this is kind of a sidetrack going off when we're talking about like comparing, but this is an apples to apples thing, right? So Sony came out and they're like, all right, we're not going to do the free upgrade stuff anymore, whatever. Their last game is going to be Horizon. If anyone buys Horizon Forbidden West on PS5 and not PS4 and pays the $10 when they do not have to pay the $10, I can't help them. It's a free upgrade.
You did that to yourself. It's not wrong.
The game is a free upgrade. And if anyone pays the extra $10 and then complains that it's $70, what are you doing? Just get the PS4 version.
I mean, for sure.
I use, and now that you mentioned that, like I upgraded Ghost of Tsushima from my PS4 version to the PS5 version. I paid like $30
with the DLC and all that
DLC.
Stuff, right?
Came with DLC and shit.
I haven't yet to get to the point where I'm seeing the DLC. So it's like, well, shit, was this worth the upgrade? Like I could have just stuck with the normal version.
Though,
I have
or just paid the 10.
We're paying for the option.
We're paying for the 10. No, but that's what people complain about though, Rob. Like they don't care about having the option. They're like, at the end of the day,
I think that's what people have to understand. Like when you're that's
what I was about to say.
Options.
It's optional.
All these things. These extra
you
things
cannot get mad at something that is optional.
Into,
yes,
you know what I'm saying?
It's your choice. Nobody's forcing your hand to get it. At the end of the day, and if you do it, you cannot be mad at what you did because you did it. There is a fine print that tells you everything that is included in what you did. That's why I cannot be mad that I paid $80 for Battlefield because there was a print of everything I purchased, and it's just like. I go back to this. It's the internet. The internet is so bored. They want to argue about everything. They want to argue about a beautiful PS4 game and a beautiful Switch game.
Bro, you don't know how mad I was when I saw that.
When I saw that, I was just like, "What are we doing?" And I'm just like, "Why can't we just enjoy both?"
No defender, bro.
No,
I was furious.
And I was just like, "It's just like, okay, what? Who are you guys to tell me that this game isn't worth 60 and this one is, and vice versa?"
Again, you know what I'm saying?
Like, and when both games scored phenomenal scores at the end of the day, so it's like, what are we arguing about here? Like, they're both great games.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
But Rob, you got any more in regards to the 70 or the increase?
The increase, the 70, the price of games. So here's what I need from. Let me just break it down, okay? You know what I'm saying? From game to be worth full price for me, I need if it has a multiplayer attached to it, all I need is like 5 to 6 of campaign. You know what I'm saying? Call of Duty, I'll pay full price for Call of Duty because I usually enjoy the campaign.
Because you love the campaign, correct?
Yep. And then I can put like a gang of hours into multiplayer. Like with Modern Warfare 2019, I put so many hours. Like when Warzone came out, it was free to play. People were like, "Oh yeah, like, well, why did they tell us?" I don't know. I was like, I put so much time into Call of Duty already. I got my 60s worth, so it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Well, so it's like the best place to grind your guns is in multiplayer.
That too. I didn't even so I was able to already had a head start on that. Yep. And then you could continue doing it. So for games with like a multiplayer and campaign, I need like 5 hours campaign to like 6, maybe like 7, 8 max before it starts to get stale. And then like multiplayer that's like fun to play, and then we're good. For a single player game, like I know a lot of people like the excessive, like long shit, you know what I'm saying? That's just intimidating. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I need for like an RPG, I need like 30 hours. I
love 200-hour RPGs though. I can get lost. Bro. I can get lost in like a Fallout.
It sounds so daunting.
I love it.
Bro, let me.
I played Fallout 4 or 5 times.
Bro, I remember when like Cyberpunk was like ramping up and shit, and like everyone was like, "Oh, it's like the Witcher."
I wanted it to be 220 hours. I can't even play that shit for 20.
I was not interested in that game because everyone was comparing it to The Witcher, I remember me and you had complete flip response because then they're like, oh yeah, it's way lower. It's like 20, 30 hours. You're like, what? No. I was like,
I wanted a 200-hour game, and I beat that game in 24 hours, and I wish I didn't play any hours of that game.
It being 30 piqued my interest before I thought I was broken.
Dude.
I was into it as soon as I found out it was like low. But if it's not an RPG, I need like 15. Like I think 15. Because I don't need to be like there forever. If it's like a mainline story, I need like 15. Like with Last of Us 2, I enjoyed it, but they could have shaved off like 10 hours. Like I straight up like 25 hours. It was a lot.
I can see that. I can see where they could have shaved off in Last of Us 2.
They could have shaved off a couple hours, and it would have been like
because the start of Abby's story, you essentially were doing the same part you were doing at the beginning of Ellie's.
Just reorder it.
Yeah,
take out a chunk.
That's where that's where everybody said the pacing was kind of shaky.
Hit the wall, and then it's just too much. Take off 5 to 10.
Yeah,
actually
20 hours.
Like,
oh yeah.
Like it's immaculate in terms of it's like sculpting, but it's like legitimately perfect if you take off like 5 to 10.
See, like where I've changed because I tell you guys I love like a 200-hour Fallout. I play mostly now multiplayer games like shooters, and I'll play a race, the Forza here and there because I don't have time to play story games as much anymore. Like a game that I used to be able to beat in 2 days, that's a 12-hour game, takes me 2 to 3 weeks because I only get to play it for like 2 to 3 hours every few days. Like Far Cry. I use Far Cry as an example. I'm not even halfway through Far Cry, I don't think. And that can be a 100+ hour game if you're doing all the side stuff. But I think for me now, story-wise, because how long Last of Us 2 took me and how long Ghost of Tsushima, I still haven't beat Ratchet and Clank. Like 12 to 15 hours is probably my sweet spot for a good story game. If it's 12 to 15 hours of garbage, there's me saying this is not a $70 game.
Yeah.
No, yeah, 12 to 15 is that for a story, for a narrative driven game. I think that is definitely a sweet spot, especially for me. Like you guys have heard me all the time. I don't need a long game.
No, you just need a quality game, right?
And the thing is, it's harder to play multiplayer games right now because like I only have such limited time. Mm-hmm. So if I'm putting my time into it, I don't want to be sitting in lobbies or having to wait for friends to be playing. Because the reason I want to play multiplayer games is with the people I want to play with, right. Not just randomly. Right. So it's either play one player games, like single player narrative games, or I'll try to get on and we'll try to coordinate one to do like a Back for Blood or a Halo night or something like that.
Can we do a Mario Party night this weekend, please?
Oh, please. I'd love it.
Rob? Saturday?
It depends. I'm probably going to be busy Saturday, but maybe
okay, I'll go off myself. I mean, you and I can play, all right?
Yeah, there we go. No, but like the 12 to 15 hours is good. Like for me, I didn't even mind Miles Morales because I think I put 10 hours into it. I was sad when it ended. When I got to the end, I was like, "This was too short."
Thing for me, I was like, "We're already done." Like
there have been a lot of games where I felt it was starting to get really good, and it was picking up, and you're like, "Oh shit, it's ending."
It's ending, bro.
And I've noticed that a lot with these 6 to 8 hour games the last couple of gens.
See, I don't mind that. I'm willing to pay $70 for that because I know that I'm going to be able to play a game that I can finish that is going to just be impactful because it's condensed, right? Yeah. So if there's no garbage, if it's not wasted time, which I don't think Miles Morales is really wasted time. And so like I'm willing to pay this is me personally, willing to pay $70. It's not 70, it's 50 or whatever, 60 or
50, 60, yeah.
I'm willing to pay that because I know that my time is not going to be wasted. When I played Valhalla, I put in 25 hours in that game because it was the launch game it was my launch game for Xbox, and I barely did anything because I was like, oh, I want to look around, I want to do this.
If I wouldn't have got that for free, I probably would have been mad at buying that.
I would have. I got to the settlement when you first started making your settlement, and I was like, oh, there's other stuff coming out.
There's way too much
stuff to do. I wish I had.
That's where I'm at with Ubisoft games. Yeah, they're like filler games for me that I go back to and play now. Like they're not games that I'm like very excited to play, like because you know what you're getting from a Ubisoft game.
Like I know, like for me right now, because I'm so excited for Halo, and I don't know how long the campaign's gonna be.
I was just gonna ask, how long do we need Halo to be?
I'm saying Halo's a 20-hour campaign.
I'd be okay with that because it's Halo and it's been so long.
From what it seems, I mean, with how open it seems, I'd say that's
So,
what
like,
it is.
yeah, no, like the thing is, I haven't ever played like a Far Cry game, for instance. So like, it's hard for me to imagine an FPS campaign being like super long because everyone I've played has been like max 12 hours.
How
But I
long
feel like
are the Halo campaigns? Usually 8 hours?
they're usually 8 to 12, yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's why I'm like, I feel like it has to be longer than 8 to 12 since
That's
the
what
multiplayer is separate and
exactly.
free. You know what I mean?
That's
8 to
exactly
12
the only reason I
is
say
money
20.
because it's attached to the
Maybe
whole thing.
15.
But like, yeah, I feel but that's the thing. I'm like, will that get too monotonous? Like, what's the sweet spot for Halo? What does that have to be like for it to be like?
Well, if it's
money,
what I am under the impression it is, like where it's Destiny style, the campaign's like never going to end.
A lot of people think it's more
to
compared to Far Cry. It's a lot of people have been saying.
And that's what I said originally. Everyone was like, no, it's not Far Cry. So I don't know.
Well, all the previews for it, I mean, this going off topic, but all the previews are, it's like, it's less Far Cry. It's more of a different way of playing a Halo because, you know, Jeff Grubb, what he was saying, is like, this is their Halo moment. It's or their Breath of the Wild moment. It's very much a traditional Halo game. Whereas like when you're not in the open world, you're going into like the linear portion of like the mission.
Yeah, like,
so are there going to be like time events? Are there going to be like raids? Did they say that?
I mean, I think
I can see them doing it down the road. Like
that's what I'm. That's like that's why I keep saying Destiny because I feel like that's where it's going.
But like,
right. And if they add like stories later, sure.
Right.
I mean, we're not going to get we're not going to get co-op campaign.
But if Halo starts doing what Destiny did, where you got to pay this $50 pass to get this content, this $50 pass to get this content.
Well, guess what?
I'm out.
None of us have to.
Because of Game Pass?
Yes, it's all free.
But Destiny didn't start doing that for their games on Game Pass until way after those came out.
But they're not owned by Microsoft.
They're not. Yeah, they're not first
party. Oh, it's true.
Party, you know
yeah, it's true.
Right? They're not owned by Microsoft. They have no
right. We won't have to. Yeah, that's true.
Again, and that $70 price point, it just shows you how.
That's where I go back. You pay $70, you still got to pay $50 for the content. So what's going on? You pay $70 for the base game. Why don't we keep getting games that are just done? Why do we keep getting $70 games and then $50 DLC? $50 DLC.
Aren't Destiny DLCs like $20?
25.
25. That's not
maybe
bad. GTA stuff was 20 for Gay Tony and Lost and Damned.
Yeah, but that shit was good. That shit was good.
People like the Destiny shit.
No, I know. But I'm just saying, like, but like, why can't Destiny be like Borderlands, where you just make a season pass and you get it all in one?
Because everybody's got different monitors. We don't live in a streamlined society.
I know.
Anymore.
I'm just pointing out how everything's different.
I know. I don't know.
Some people have some indie USB-C. Some people have Lightning Bolt, Thunderbolt.
Bro, no, they're tweaking. We all need to be on USB-C.
Everything needs to be USB-C for the rest of our lives. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Some indie games as well, I would pay more than they charge as well. I never used to be that guy. I used to like be like very like, oh, that's an indie game, I'm not gonna pay for it.
I'd pay every buck for these indie games. I think these indie games are phenomenal.
No, I've had more impactful time with smaller titles than bigger titles, low key. Like Ori is what, $30? I paid 50 for Ori.
I'd play 50 for Ori. Yeah,
I paid. I'd pay 50. I just paid for Death's Door. I'm playing it right now. It's awesome.
How is it?
I hear it's really good.
It's really good.
I think it's probably only like $20-$30.
Yeah, 30? Exactly. And it plays awesome.
Worth 50?
I have no problem. It's on Switch. It plays phenomenally on Switch. So laying in bed and playing it, not having to worry about anything else.
God, I love my Switch, especially with these new Pokemon games.
Mad cheap, you know what I'm saying? And people say that's like the greatest game that come out last year and
shit. Like,
I feel like, and again, I'm like the only one that hasn't played it. Everybody's saying that like that they can't get enough of it. Like they just want more and more of Hades.
Yeah, if you got a little bit of downtime, just play a run.
Yeah.
You know,
you shouldn't have came back.
I hope that was a good. I hope I got a good reaction. So, as you see, money makes the world go around.
And makes the video games go around.
The different price points. It's all crazy. Fuck the Switch OLED. Big facts. Don't do it.
Are you sure?
Those are
you sure?